Welcome to the challenge video. In this video, we're going to make an obby, aka obstacle course. The video is going to be separated into 7 different parts. First part, overview. We're going to run through a project and show you what it actually is. The second part is the Unity project setup, where we'll set up Unity. The third part, we'll load in the character. The fourth part, we'll add scene objects such as platforms. The fifth part, we'll make this a game loop so that you can actually complete the obby and start over again. The sixth part is a polish and beauty pass where we'll do some things to make the scene look much nicer. And then finally, we're gonna do testing where we build a QR code build. So let's get right into it. I'm going to hit play on this ZBT Simple Obby project, which you will have access to. And I'm gonna show you what exactly is in this project. We're just gonna run through the obby, aka obstacle course, and I'll just show you what it looks like. Okay, let's jump right into it. I'm gonna hit play to jump into the scene. Okay, I'm gonna make my way to the end of the level, so I'm gonna go ahead and jump on the platforms. Now, as you can see, the last platform here has this purple box. If I hit it, I will actually teleport back to the beginning. Also, if I jump off and fall off the level, I'll hit an invisible box that also teleports me back to the beginning. And then the other thing I want you to notice is just that there's some visual elements in here that is based on some visual pass, final polish things that we've done. For example, there's post-processing, which gives this scene kind of a glow. Also, there's depth of field, among other things. There's a skybox, and there's also music. But those things we're also going to talk about how do we add those things later on in the video. So let's get right into it. We'll start off by doing a Unity project setup. I'll go ahead and open up a new project. So actually I'll create a new project and I'm gonna name this. Well, first I wanna make sure that I have the right version, which is 20.3.9, 2020.3.9. I wanna make sure I select Zepeto default project. I'm gonna name this demo Simple Obby. And then I'm gonna go ahead and create the project. Right here is a pop-up that says the project is using a new input system package, and it's asking you, do you want to enable backend? Doing so will restart the editor and will disable the old Unity input APIs. Go ahead and just say yes. Go ahead and click allow access for firewall. Okay, the Unity project has opened up. The first thing I'm going to do is actually go to Window and just change this layout to 2x3. It's just an easier layout for you to see what things are going, how things are actually laid out. It's just something I prefer because it's easier to see what's going on. Then I'm going to actually go to Window and I'm going to go to Package Manager, and I want to make sure that I'm on the latest world package. So let me let this load up, and I'm going to go to Zepeto World here. And I'm just going to go ahead and update to the latest version, which is 1.21.5. All right, once that's done updating, you can go ahead and close out this window. All right, now the next part, we're going to load in the character. There's actually a no-code solution for this, and we'll have to actually download 2 things. We'll have to grab the module importer, and then from there we can grab the sync component inside the module importer, and I'm going to show you how to do that right now. So basically what this does is it lets you load in a character without having to write any code. So just go ahead and open up Chrome and type in, search for Jasper module importer Zepeto. So you should have a GitHub here. It says Jasper Games Zepeto modules. Go ahead and click on this one and go ahead and scroll down until you see this link for download and install. Go ahead and click this link, and then you can just grab this Unity package that exists right here. Go ahead and click on it and it will download. So once it's downloaded, go ahead and open up the folder And what you can do then is you can just drag this into your Unity project. So go ahead and drag this package into your Unity project window. This import Unity package window will pop up. Go ahead and say yes and import. And there you go. You see that the Zepeto module importer is now added to your project. Go to Zepeto and you'll see module importer. Click on this. And we have the module importer, but what we also need is the multiplay component. This component is going to allow a drag and drop script that you can drag and drop into the scene, and it will actually automatically load in the character. So go ahead and click on it, and then go ahead and click import. And this import Unity package window pops up. Same thing here, go ahead and click import. And go ahead and close out the Zepeto module importer window. You'll see now that we not only have the Zepeto module importer, but we also have the Zepeto multiplay component. And that's exactly what we want. So the next step is to actually add these components into your hierarchy window so that you can actually have the character load in when you hit play. So what you want to do is you'll go to the hierarchy window, go to Zepeto, load up the Zepeto players object. The Zepeto players game object has a Zepeto player script automatically added to it. We're going to add an extra script to this. We're going to add an extra script to the Zepeto players game object. The script is called Zepeto players manager, and it is actually part of the Zepeto multiplayer component. So go ahead in the project window, search for Zepeto players manager, and go ahead and drag this into the Zepeto players game object. Under spawn option, we're going to click this to say single player spawn on start. Because this is not a multiplayer game, this is a single player game, and with this option, I can just hit play and the character will spawn in. The last thing I want to do is also save the scene as something other than untitled. So I'm going to go to save as, and I'm going to go ahead and save it as main. And go ahead and X out this search bar here so that you can see all the assets again. Now, I had the Zepeto players object, which automatically came with the Zepeto player script, and I added the Zepeto players manager. Once I hit play on this, the character should just automatically load in. And there you see the character load in with the character controller. Now, if the character is actually falling right now because, well, there's no ground, so he's just falling right now. So what I can do now is let's go ahead and move on to the next part, which is we're going to start adding the platforms and the level objects. So I'm going to go ahead and go to hierarchy window. I'm going to go to 3D object. I'm going to create a cube, and I'm going to call it platform. I'm going to position this to 0, 0, 0, and I'm going to make it a little bigger. So right now it's 1 by 1 by 1. I probably want something like, let's make it pretty big. So 5 by 1 by 5 should do it. And then actually I want the top of this to be at 0, 0, 0. And because this object is one height, I need to actually lower the position by 0.5. And actually I'm going to make this even bigger. I'm going to make it 10 by 10 because this is the starting platform. So go ahead and make it a little bigger. So now if I hit play, the character should drop in onto the platform and I can walk around it. And there you go. All right, let's add in some other platforms, and then finally we're going to also add an ending platform, which is the end platform for this obby stage. So I'm going to add some extra platforms. I'll go ahead and create another 3D object, a cube. Go ahead and name this platform. And this one I'm going to make smaller. It's going to be 2 by 1 by 2. I'm going to zero it out. And then I'm just going to move it to something like here. So I want the player to jump to there. Actually, you know what? Because the player actually drops in and faces the Z direction, I'm going to actually move it in the Z direction here. So 0 on the X. And 8 on the Z position. Now I'm going to keep adding some more platforms. So the next platform, I'm going to try a different shape actually. I'll try a capsule. And again, I'll zero this out to there. And then I'll probably move it here, and I'm gonna scale this to be something like 3 by 3 by 3. And then I'll just rotate it. So just something more interesting to jump on than just a normal cube or platform. Then maybe I'll make this a little higher, so you're kind of jumping up. You're jumping up towards the final platform. And then maybe I'll also do a 3D object. I'll make a sphere. Again, I'll zero this out. And you can play around with this. You can make this level however you want. I'm just gonna make something very simple just so you guys can see how to set up a basic level. So I'm gonna make this cube maybe, or the sphere, that's kind of small. Maybe I'll make it 3 by 3 by 3. Again, this is all preference. You can do this however you want, but I'm gonna make this go a little higher. I'm gonna go to this platform here. I'm gonna hit Control D to duplicate, and I'm gonna just keep moving it up higher and higher. I'm gonna duplicate it again by hitting Control D. Also, you can right click to duplicate, but Control D is a quick shortcut, and I'm gonna move it higher. And then finally, I'm going to copy this original platform. I'm gonna duplicate it. I'm gonna call this end platform. Now, you don't really need to name these anything, but it is nice to actually name your objects in a way where you can easily find them in the hierarchy. So that will be my ending platform there. And I think that's pretty good. Now, obviously this is not the most exciting obstacle course, but you guys can play around with this. You know, maybe this path goes up here and turns to the right, or it maybe goes back down. Who knows? You can play around with this and add all sorts of things to make this a little more interesting. But I'm gonna go ahead and hit play so you can see that I can now jump through this obstacle course. Okay, so here you go, and I'm going to jump, and jump, 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 and jump, and that's the ending platform. And I'm just gonna walk back down. Now, one thing that this does not have is a basic game loop, right? Because once I finish the platforming, so if I jump all the way up, nothing happens. So what I would like to happen is once I get to this top area here, I would like to be able to warp back to the beginning and start this whole all over again. Also, the other thing that we have not actually handled is what happens if I fall off. Right now, if I fall off, I just, fall forever, which is not what we want. So we actually have to set up some kind of object that if we hit that object, will also teleport to the beginning platform. So two things. In the end platform, we want to have an object where if we touch it, we teleport back to the beginning. And also, if you fall off the level, there's going to be some kind of invisible object that once you hit it, you'll also teleport back to the beginning. So that's what we're going to set up next. Okay, let's create a teleport script. The script, basically what it does is once you hit an object that has this teleport script on it, it will then teleport you to some predefined point in the game, in which case we're going to set that point to the center of the start platform. Now, we're going to rush through kind of making the script, and I won't explain too much about it because there's other tutorials in here that will tell you how to write Zeppelin scripts, but I just wanted to show you how to do it just real quick so you can know for future reference. But for the purposes of you making your own obby, you can literally just, because you will have access to this project, you can copy and paste that script from one project and just paste it into your own project. So I'm gonna make a new TypeScript. I'm gonna call it teleport script. I'm gonna double click on it, and if I have VS Code installed, it should open up VS Code automatically, in which case I'm gonna go ahead and paste in my script. And again, don't worry too much about this part because other videos will explain this, but I'm gonna quick fix and make sure I have all my imports. Okay, so basically what this script does is if you hit an object with this script attached to it, it will actually teleport you to some location. And the location that will teleport you to is this location here, teleport location, which we will be able to drag and drop inside the editor. So I'm going to show you that real quick. So I'll go back to my scene view. I'm going to create a cube. Now here's a quick way to center things onto other objects. So I have this end platform, I have this cube. If I just child this cube to the end platform and then zero it out, it will now be at the center of that platform, and then I can just unparent it by dragging it like that. And I'm gonna call this I'm gonna call it end teleport object. End teleport game object. Okay, now this is kind of hard to see because it's the cube is white, the platform is white. So what I'm gonna do real quick is I'm gonna go ahead and go to the project window, create a quick material here. I'll call it MAT. I'll just call it by what color it is. I'll call it matte red. I'll change this color to red, and then I can then drag and drop this material onto that end teleport game object. And as you can see it being red there, but also it's the same height as this end platform. So I'm just gonna make this a little bigger by doing 2, 2, 2. So there's my object. Now, the way this script works is that it actually requires this object to be a trigger. So if I click on my end teleport game object, you'll see there's a box collider component in there. I just want to click this is trigger checkbox. And now when I drag this teleport script onto it, onto my end teleport game object, I can see now that my teleport script is now on my end teleport game object. And as I was saying before, this teleport to location basically is looking for a game object. You need to drag the game object that you want this thing to teleport to. So in this case, it should just be this. Let's see. So actually what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna create an empty game object. I'm gonna call it start teleport position. And I'm gonna zero this out because the platform is at 0, 0, 0. And I'm just gonna make it be above the platform by some amount, by maybe 1, just so that the character can drop into the platform. So this start position is the position I want this teleport to teleport to. So when I go to my end teleport game object, I just need to drag this start teleport position to the teleport to location. And then what's gonna happen now is when I hit this box, I'm gonna teleport because it has this teleport script on it. I'm gonna teleport to this position, right? The start teleport position. And then I can start the whole platforming all over again. So let's go ahead and test that out. Okay, so I'm gonna get to the end, I'm gonna jump. Let me just make this bigger so you guys can see it. And there you go, I teleported back to the beginning. So now it works. Now the final thing we need to do though is what happens if you actually jump off the world, right? If you fall off the world, what happens? So basically, I'm gonna take this red cube here, which was the end platform. Oh, sorry, let me click on the red cube, which is the end teleport game object. I'm gonna go ahead and just click Control D to duplicate this, and I'm gonna name this fall catcher teleport game object. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna zero this out, but I'm gonna make this like super gigantic. So maybe this is gonna be 50 by 50 by 10. And I'm gonna just pull that down. So even 50 is not big enough because if I fall off here, I'm not gonna hit that, right? So maybe I'll just make it 100. 100 by 100 by 10 height. Okay, so I'm gonna do the same thing. Well, I don't need to do anything now because I duplicated it. It already has that teleport script on it, and it already knows what game object to teleport it to, which is this empty game object here, right? This empty game object is just gonna transform, it's just gonna teleport you to this position where this empty game object exists if you fall off the world. So let's go ahead and test that to make sure that works. I'll go ahead and hit play. So I'm gonna go ahead, jump on this first platform, I'm gonna fall off the world. And there you go. Once I fall off, I teleport to the beginning. Now, you can either leave this platform as visible, or what you could do is if you just go to mesh render and go ahead and hide the mesh render, then you can actually have it be invisible. Or you could even right click on this and remove the component. But for now, I'm just gonna go ahead and set that to inactive, so you don't actually see the object, but it's there and you can still fall on it and it will teleport you back to the beginning. Okay, this next part, we're gonna do a polished beauty pass. There's a few things we wanna add. We wanna add a skybox. We wanna add some background music. We wanna add environment fog. And then finally, we wanna add some post-processing, which I'm gonna quickly do that, but there's actually a video for that where we talk about visual fidelity. So you can take a look at that if you want more information, but we're gonna be also adding post-processing. Same for adding the skybox and background music. I'm gonna quickly import this from the Unity Asset Store, but there's actually a video called Getting Game Assets Video, which will tell you the details of how to import assets from the Unity Asset Store. Okay, so let's go to the Unity Asset Store. I'm gonna search for Unity Asset Store. I'm gonna bring the Unity Asset Store up, and I'm actually gonna search for Farland Skies, which is the current skyboxes that I'm using. But you can actually use whatever assets you want. But for this project, I just happen to be using Farland Skies, which I like their cartoony cloudy skies. So once you type in Farland Skies, the other thing you can actually do is, you see a bunch of options here. Mine is the free option, so you can actually grab the free option. If you actually want to just filter out for free assets, go ahead and click that. And then I'm gonna go ahead and click on Add to My Assets. So now if I go to Window, Package Manager, and I make sure to select My Assets, I should have Farland Skies, and here it is right here. Now again, there's some steps that are missing because I already actually imported this into my account, so it automatically shows up here. But if you look at that Getting Assets video, it will show you details of how to do this from scratch. So now that I have Farland Skies in my project, what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit Import. And that's going to actually import. And again, the Import Unity Package window pops up. I'm just going to hit Import. And that's actually going to add that to my Unity project. Okay, I'm going to close out this window. And then I'm going to see, yep, I have Farland Skies right here. Okay, so if I go to Window, go to Rendering, go to Lighting, I can actually add that Farland Skies skybox. So right now, the default skybox is skybox material. I'm going to click on this, and Farland Skies actually provides you with a bunch of materials, and it's these cloudy crown materials. I'm going to actually click this one that's bluish. So I believe it is actually, yep, Midday. Yeah, Midday is the one that's light and blue. So I'm gonna go ahead and pick that. And there you go, you now have a skybox. Like a custom skybox. And that's how easy it is to add skybox. Just go to Unity Asset Store and import some skyboxes that you would like. Now the next thing I'm gonna do is I'm going to add in background music. So let me just quickly show you what I found on the Unity Asset Store. I actually typed in free casual music pack. And if you click on this free assets to filter it out, this is the one I actually downloaded, free casual music pack. And as you can see, I already downloaded it, but if you click on it, okay, so I see this Open in Unity button. I'm gonna click it and say Open Unity Editor. Here's a free casual music pack. I'm gonna click on it, and then I'm gonna go ahead and click Import. And you can go ahead and you can see the Import Unity Package window pops up. I'm gonna go ahead and click Import to import those sounds. Okay, as you can see, I now have this free casual music pack which just got downloaded. I'm going to go ahead and search for a specific piece of music that I was using for the scene I showed you earlier. It's called Casual Theme Loop 3. So we can see here, if I click on this and X out this, it's in this folder, and there's a bunch of them, so let's just try some of these and see which one we use. So there's that one. There's slightly different variations. I'll go ahead and just use this first one. And to use it, it's pretty simple. I can just actually click it and drag it in here. And now when I play the game, this should actually play automatically. If I actually click on the sound, you'll see in this audio source component, I have this play on awake check. So basically all this means is that when you start the game, this sound will play. And the other thing I want to make sure I check is this loop, because once the sound ends, I want it to play over again. So that's all I have to do, just drag that sound in here and then click on loop and just make sure it's play on awake. And when I play the game, it should just work. And yep, as you can see, it just works. Alright, now the next thing I want to do is actually add an environment fog. As you can see from here, this far away platform here with the teleport object in the very end, it doesn't look like it's starting to blend into the background. It's fully visible, and in real life actually far away objects actually are kind of hidden by fog. So we're going to do that by going to rendering, lighting. So back into this window, under environment there's actually this other settings. Just click on fog, and I'm going to go ahead and just do linear for now. Or actually maybe I'll just leave it as exponential squared. And what I'm going to do is set this to, let's say I set this to 1. As you can see, it's fogged out at this color. I don't want it to be 1, that's probably too high. Maybe 0.5, 0.1. Okay, 0.1 might make more sense. Or maybe even 0.05, so yes. But the problem here is you'll see that it's actually blending into gray, which is not what we want because the background is not that color. So what you can do is click on this color, click on this eyedropper, and maybe pick one of these blue tones. I'm gonna pick this random blue tone. But there you go, now you can kind of see the objects kind of blending into the background. And that actually just makes your scene look like it has a little more depth to it. Now before we move on to the post-processing part, which I want to show you, which is going to be adding things like depth of field. So far away objects are a little blurrier. We're going to also add things like ambient occlusion, which makes objects have extra shadowing if light doesn't actually hit that object. For example, like crevices will have some kind of shadow. We're going to add a bunch of things, but before we do that, right now we're going to actually color these platforms. So right now they're all white, which is kind of hard to see. So I want to make another material. If I go to assets, go to material, I'm just going to name this, instead of matte red, maybe this is matte purple. So I'm going to make the platform purple. So I'm going to change this color to be some kind of purple, so maybe this. And then I'll go ahead and drag that purple material onto these platforms here, just so that they're not white. So I'm going to drag that here to here. Alright, and as you can see, it blends nicely in the background, right? Because it's kind of like, as it gets further and further, it's like blending into more like a bluish color. So it really gives that depth, sense of depth to it by just adding this very simple thing, which is fog. Alright, so let's just quickly run through this real quick just to show you how that fog has affected the scene. Alright, as I walk forward, you'll see that faraway objects slowly become more visible as they come out of the fog. So I think yeah, the fog really works well here, so we'll just leave it at these settings. Alright, finally, I want to show you guys how to add post-process. And again, I'm going to run through this super fast because we actually have a video specifically tailored for adding post-processing called Visual Fidelity. But I'm going to just quickly show you how to do it in this lesson. So one other thing I just want to mention real quick, you see this little asterisk next to main. I just want to hit Control S, basically just save it, because if your Unity crashes, you want to make sure that everything is saved so you don't lose work. Okay, so post-processing, how does this work? Post-processing is something that is based on the camera, and so we have to add those components to the camera. Now, the thing is though, that even though there's this main camera in the scene, this is not the camera that's being used when you actually hit play. The camera is actually being used if you hit this Pedal Player's game object, and you go to Zepeto Players, you'll see that there's a Zepeto Camera prefab here. This is the camera you're using, so this is where you need to add your post-processing components to make this work. Now, the problem with this is that this Zepeto Camera is actually in the packages folder, and you cannot actually edit this because it's in this packages folder. It'll let you edit it, but then it doesn't actually save. So what you can do is you can drag this all the way up into, just make a copy by dragging it into the assets folder. And now you have the Zepeto Camera right here. And what you can do is just click on it and just name it custom so you know that this is your version. And I'm gonna just name it custom Zepeto Camera so I know that this is the custom version of the camera. Okay, so now I have to go back to my Zepeto Players, and then instead of having this Zepeto Camera here, I'm gonna use this custom Zepeto Camera. And everything should be the same because if I hit play, I'll show you, everything is exactly the same. It's just that we're making this copy so we can add the post-processing. Alright, so go to this custom camera and we're going to add 2 components to this to make post-processing work. So custom Zepeto Camera, I'm going to add a post-processing volume, and then I'm going to add a post-processing layer. Under post-processing volume, I'm going to set this to global, and then under profile, I'm just going to hit new, and it creates this new profile, which I'm going to be adding the effects to it. As you can see here, you can add effects. And then finally, you have to just go to post-processing layer and just make sure that, so make sure that the trigger is set to this custom Zepeto Camera. Oh, also one other thing actually, you need to actually set this layer to everything. Okay, once you do that, go ahead and go to post-processing volume. And under add effect, go ahead and click this, go to Unity and add in, the first one we're going to add is actually depth of field. So this is going to make faraway objects look a bit blurry. So I'm going to set this focus distance to 15, aperture, I'm going to set it to 0.2, focal length, I'm going to set this to 40. Now you can go ahead and actually play around with these settings and see what it does, but I just know that these settings works for the current scene that I'm working on. Max blur I'm setting to medium, and I think that should be all we want. So once I hit play, you should be able to see objects being somewhat blurry because of the depth of field. There you go. As you can see, the faraway objects are somewhat blurry. And if I turn off this depth of field, you can see that yes, everything is clear, and if I turn it back on, then it's blurry again. So that little touch right there is super easy to do, but adds quite a bit to the visual fidelity of the scene. I'm going to go ahead and add those other effects. I'm going to add I need to actually stop the game because if I'm in play mode, these changes will not save. For example, if I add bloom, stop the game, I believe that actually no. So specifically for post-processing, you can actually add things while you're in play mode. Now, most of the times you cannot do that, but specifically for post effects, it does actually work if you do edits in play mode. So let's actually just go back to play mode, and I'm gonna set some of these settings so that we can see what this looks like. So for bloom, I'll set the intensity to 10. And again, I just know what the settings are for this particular scene, but you'll have to play with it to fit your scene. And then I'll set the threshold to 75, the soft knee to 0.5, clamp, we can set that to 1, diffusion, we can set this to 1, and then yeah, you can see if I turn on and off bloom, it just gives a glowy look to your scene, and this may be what you want depending on what you're going for. And anisotropic ratio, 0, color, default, fast mode, just leave it unchecked. And yeah, so you can see this makes your scene look kind of glowy, so this might be an effect you want to use, but it might not be. It really depends on what you're going for. Okay, and then finally we're going to add 2 more things. We're going to add ambient occlusion and vignette. So first, let's add vignette. Vignette is basically something that adds some kind of color around the edges of the whole scene. So I'll show you what that does. And I'll go ahead and go into play so we can see this in real time. Okay, let's add another effect, vignette. Go ahead and expand that menu and check all the options to turn it on. And we're going to turn the intensity to 1. Now you can see I can turn it to 10, but 1 looks like it's the max that you can turn the intensity to. And you can see this is pretty obvious, so this is not what we want, but we can make some adjustments here. So first, let's make the color bluish so it kind of matches the sky color. And we can kind of adjust the intensity down. So 0.5 seems like a good number. For smoothness, let's make it 1. For roundness, we'll make it 0.25, but you can play around with these settings to whatever matches what you're looking for. I'm gonna make it a bit more obvious, but here you'll also see me turning on and off vignette for you to see the effect. Now it is kind of subtle, but it does make a difference. Kind of helps focus your eye on the center of what you want the player to pay attention to. And here I can adjust the color of it, so making it darker blue makes it a little more obvious. And there you go. Yeah, vignette is something you can add. It just kind of helps focus the player's eye on the scene. Okay, next we're gonna take a look at adding ambient occlusion. Let me go ahead and walk to the end of the scene so that you can actually see the effect of ambient occlusion a little bit better, because it really works when two objects intersect each other, like these two cubes here. Okay, let's add ambient occlusion. So open the panel up to select every option, just check it. And then we just want to make the intensity 1. And you can see already there that where the two corners meet, it gets darker. And also where you see this pill and this platform here meeting, you'll see there's a darker area, and that's just because light doesn't hit that very well. So you can see me turning on and off ambient occlusion, and that kind of, it basically makes things look more grounded, because things that are close together have that shadow. When things intersect, there's this kind of shadowing around things. It just makes everything a bit more grounded. It's a nice little effect to add to just give your scene a more 3D feel. All right, finally, you just have to build the game. And to do that, it's really simple. You can just go ahead, find your Z button, click on it, and if you click OK, it will publish a QR code build. And it says, do you want to save the current scene? Yes, I do. Okay, once the QR code is done building, you can go ahead and open up your Zepeto app and scan the QR code to test the game on your phone. And there you go. The game is now on your phone for you to test. So I definitely encourage you guys to test as often as possible, because certain things may be slightly different when on phone, on device. So yeah, definitely make sure that you test your worlds often to make sure that you catch any bugs before they become a big deal, because again, certain things may be slightly different on phone than you. And there you go, that's it. That's the whole game. A simple obby created in Unity from scratch. Thanks for watching, guys.